Is Commune with Beavers Ponder for green decks? Let's find out. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today I have been asked to build a deck that has 4 Commune with Beavers in it. That was the whole stipulation. We're going to take a look at this card, and we're going to see how it feels in actual gameplay. You get to look at the top 3 cards of your library. You can reveal an artifact, creature, or land card from among them and put it into your hand, and the rest go on the bottom of your library in any order. Now, is this as good as Ponder? Just objectively speaking, absolutely not. Does this card actually have some advantages over Ponder? Yeah, there is actually one, because this is a cantrip that does not draw a card. So this is not going to trigger Orcish Bowmasters, which is one of the most played cards in the format right now, at least as far as creatures go. Now, it is theoretically possible to miss with this card. You know, you could reveal the top card of your library, and it could be your other 3 copies of Commune with Beavers, and you will be sad. But outside of that, with the way you're building your deck, you are probably going to be a deck full of these 3 card types, and so you shouldn't miss most of the time. Will sometimes you be getting a suboptimal card? Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have that ponder ability to just shuffle it all away, although you never have to keep more than 1 card from this. So very, very different from a ponder. And I thought the natural home for this might be something like a Maverick deck or a Cradle Control deck that just naturally is going to play a ton of creatures. So there's only like 9 cards in this deck that aren't creatures for the purposes of Commune with Beavers. It's like the Beavers and the Natural Orders, and that's really about it other than the Green Suns. I grabbed a 5-0 deck list, I think from Renatus Vampirus or something like that, to use as my starting point, and I didn't change it much. Since I added in really multiple green cards here to make this work, I am playing a Bayou over a Flex Slot Wasteland that was in the deck previously. Otherwise, this is most of the good stuff that you are used to from this deck. Cradle Control is a very, very, very small part of the metagame right now. Perhaps because Orcish Bowmasters can eat alive a bunch of these small creatures. But the reason I chose this specific list is it absolutely just gives a middle finger to graveyard-based decks with 4 main deck Endurance, 3 main deck Raccoon Scouts that are just ready to eat cards from the graveyard. And it does have an over-the-top Reanimator-esque finish where you have something that goes bigger than the rest of your deck as sort of like an emergency eject button that you can work towards. We should have a lot of agency in our games, which is something that I like to see from a legacy deck. Gaia's Cradle can get absolutely nutty if you can stick a whole bunch of bodies. Generally speaking, though, I do think this deck is relatively difficult to play, even by legacy standards. The 2 copies of Leyline of the Void in the sideboard might look funny. And at first glance, my thought was to just add in 2 more. But after thinking about it, I think it's better to view them as Endurance number 5 and 6 rather than Leyline of the Void number 1 and 2. This is just supplemental stuff to make you better versus stuff like Oops All Spells that is going to come out of the deck very, very quickly. Plus, apparently, we have new Snuff Out art from the Final Fantasy set. Love me some Black Mages. Wait, hold up. All these people have come to make you a gift of their souls? That's pretty metal. All right, with that, let's go ahead and jump into some matches here, see how Commune with Beavers feels. Was this a mistake, or is this secret tech? We'll find out. And if you need some Final Fantasy cards or anything else, consider ordering from my sponsor, TOAmagic.com. They're awesome. Their customer service is great. For those of you going to Vegas, you might be leaving like today for Vegas for some of you, or maybe you're already there and you're watching my video, or maybe you're on the plane ride watching this video. Promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your orders at TOAmagic.com. And if you're on site in Vegas, look for this purple banner. There's usually really, really good deals on like HP and MP cards that don't normally make it to their website. So if you are looking to go and get some dual lands on a budget or something like that, it's a good place to check. All right. Let's battle. Unfortunately, we have a utility land here and not an actual green source, so this one is forced to become a mulligan. This second hand is perfectly fine. This hand is just working towards natural order, right? So turn 1, Dryad Arbor, 2 mana. Turn 2, 3 mana. Play white. Turn 3, natural order. Which means that Commune doesn't fit into the curve out here. Note that I would have been perfectly happy with the Commune with Beavers on a... Ooh, like what you're cooking. This is going to be a Chocobo deck for sure. Anyway, I've lost my train of thought. I would have been happy with Commune with Beavers in a 7-card hand there, unquestionably. But on 6, I think I just want the guaranteed backup creature. And Atraxa is probably very, very good in this matchup as a giant lifelinker. Oh, it's the pickaxe. It's been a while. This is landfall 2/2? Yeah. Oh, I am going to get punched in the face so fucking hard here. So that's 4. Take the hit? I think I'm taking the hit. Because I kind of need the mana here. I might be blocking with white next turn. So that's 8. I am at 11. It's turn 2. This is another very low to the ground landfall creature. Alright, so 10. Get a Bayou. Play a dude. And this is probably on chump block duty here. Okay, yep, this is expected. And there's a couple of triggers going on here. So this is where we're at when the stack clears. And now opponent can fetch and double the counters on the links. So this is a 10 power creature. I'm really hoping that my opponent doesn't have something like Berserk to just get through. Drop rotation. Uh-oh. Pro green? Yeah. Yikes. So I am going to get goldfished on turn 3 by landfall. The pro green does make the pickaxe fall off, but that doesn't matter at this stage. It is just lethal all by itself. Neither one of these creatures can block that. I could block this, but 15 to the face. That kills most people. Absolutely disgusting. Well done, opponent. So my goal here is to make it to natural order. And we are now going to see something very awkward about playing Commune with Beavers. It's not a true cantrip. It hits lands and creatures. We're going to ignore artifacts. And if I am about to board in 6 removal spells, this needs to be my first cut because the math starts like very much not being in its favor. From there, we don't need Allosaurus Shepherd. I probably don't actually need Collector Oof. And then maybe something like Safekeeper goes to round it out. Nope, we are a 61 card special. That's right. Safekeeper can stay. So I could keep a hand that has an Abrupt Decay in it, and that could tutor up a land. I'm not overly impressed with this, though. I'm going to mulligan this one. This hand has a natural order to work towards. I'm going to say this is fine. I'm going to put the Dryad Arbor back in the deck. And I will deploy a Sylvan Safekeeper. I've got a Grist on turn 3 to make blockers. That's not as fast as Abrupt Decay as Interaction. I have my next land. I am just passing here. I might end up Grist plussing for the extra body. Okay, the Reclaimer is coming in. I will just take that damage. That's fine. We'll see what my opponent does. They're coming out of the gates much slower than last time, which is nice for me. Yep, this is expected. Tifa can go crazy if my opponent has anything else that gives it additional power. So I am going to play Grist. And I could use Grist to kill Tifa, but then I have nothing left on board. I think I am just going to plus here. There goes the hoof. Hopefully Atraxa is not my next draw. Okay, this is what I was talking about. When Tifa gets something else that scales up her power, she could go wild. So there's a land drop. Or +2, and then a double power. Oh. Yeah, so have the other +2 happen first, and then double the power twice. Oh god. So that's 5 to 10 to 20. Uh-oh. We're going to F6 here. My opponent can have their fun. I'm going to give them their screenshot. Oh, there's something else too. Oh, and a crop rotation. Creature is going to be big. So this is Misty for another +2. They could have fetched another time beyond this here. They decided that 56 was enough. And Tifa does have trample, notably. And Tifa comes in for 56 damage, which could be doubled 2 more times. Yeah, do it. So there is a +2 and a double, 116 on turn 3. Not even mad. Good deck building going on over there. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. Okay, opening hand here is totally reasonable. I'm going to go for one of these immediately. Just not have 2 green suns in my hand on the off chance that my opponent is playing a Cabal Therapy deck. Dryad Arbor. We are looking to work towards a quick natural order for Atraxa with this hand. Flooded Strand. We've got Final Fantasy Avatars. It's an honest-to-goodness Delver of Secrets. That, like, almost brings me actual joy. Almost. I want to play Hierarch. Then I've got some mana. I think I'm just going to do this for X equals 1 and play around Days. And this is going to get me Allosaurus Shepherd to make Natural Order uncounterable. We'll see what Delver does. This might be blue-red for, like, Corey Steelcutter. There's red. There's DRC. There's Delver. That's a shit ton of creatures. But I have Natural Order. So, fetch land. Fetch. Dryad Arbor. 4 mana. Natural Order. Sacrificing. Summoning Sick Dryad Arbor. Uncounterable. How much damage do I have off Hoof? I will have 4 creatures. So 16, 17, 18, 19, plus 5, 24. We are fine to just hoof here, and our opponent dies. That was nice. All right, so how much removal do I actually want to play versus do I just want to have a high density of creatures because my opponent is going to have a bunch of lightning bolt and chain lightning effects that kill them? It is very possible that I could just remove Natural Order Atraxa Crater Hoof for 5 removal spells, and that would be a perfectly valid way to play this. Threatening the Atraxa still feels decent, though. I don't need Collector Oof, I don't think. I do want both Abrupt Decays, and now I just decide whether or not I want Snuff Out, too. I'm very happy trading Snuff Out for Archetype and DRC. I'm less happy about trading that with Delver, but it might be happening anyway. Do I just out mid-range my opponent with just a pile of Endurances and whites as the game goes very long anyway? Like, do I just win the long game? And so this is fine. I don't love the Commune with Beavers with this many removal spells boarded in. I think I'm still fine doing this on the draw, and on the play I go back to the Natural Orders. Or a Steelcutter potentially makes the Snuff Outs less good. Just harder to clear everybody. That is a very mediocre hand. I think I'm going to say no to that. Yeah, this is fine. I think I'm going to get rid of the Sylvan Safekeeper here and keep the Beavers. I will then reveal 3 removal spells with this and throw my chair out the window. Polluted Delta fetch land. Bulk. DRC. Great opener from the opponent. Even better opener from the opponent. This is going to be 3 card types in graveyard immediately. And something like a Ponder turns that into a 3/3 attacker for the next turn. Sure. So there's some question about, like, which spell I cast first, I suppose. I think I'm going to go for a Dryad Arbor immediately. Oh. Planisphere. I have to remind myself. So this is the wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, whenever you draw your 3rd card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this. So it's very good with Brainstorm specifically. Cool to see people testing out Final Fantasy cards. The set is sweet. Power level is clearly standard release. I will take 1. An opponent won't crack the bauble immediately, so they have a better chance of flipping Delver. Okay. Oh, they are not. They're using it to look at my stuff. All right, so there's a Hierarch. I would like to play this for a little more mana. And you don't dodge removal yet. So let's fetch. And I grab a Bayou. We are going to talk to the Beavers. Oh, endurance is great. Send the other to bottom. I will play a Hierarch. And then hopefully we dodge something like Murktide Regent for a turn. And then resolve this. And wall these creatures. Alright, so Delver trigger. Delver flipped naturally to Lightning Bolt, which is very good. Opponent is brainstorming now. Fetching to clear. And then they will take their actual draw step. Oh no, we're going to go ahead and Lightning Bolt now. That's fine. I'm going to take 6 this turn. And hopefully my opponent does not have Daze or Force of Will. Alright. Fetch. At this stage, I'm just going to grab a basic in case something like Price of Progress ends up happening. And we will cast an Endurance. Hopefully no Daze. No Daze. Fantastic. That makes DRC worse. And I get to just do this again next turn. Another Delver. That's a lot of Delvers. That's a fine card that's very awkward here. Because if I block 2 of these Delvers, I can still potentially take 6 damage, meaning paying the 4 life for Snuff Out is really rough. I think I am just trying to resolve one of these right now. We dodged a Daze last turn. We dodged a Daze this turn. I don't think I'm going to nuke my own graveyard. Do I want to Snuff Out DRC now? I'm going to do it. I go to 6. I can take 3 from a Delver attack safely. This is real bad if my opponent has the Daze, but I have Daze checked them 2 turns in a row, so I don't think they have it. If I do this in a different order, I can get this card out of the graveyard as well with the initial Endurance trigger. I guess I can die to my opponent flipping a Lightning Bolt now. Maybe that was wrong. There's a Ponder, which will flip both. And now I think I am hoping to get a land to get a 3rd Endurance into play. Ah, fuck, opponent declined. They found Bolt. I'm dead for my choice. Was I dead either way to my opponent having a Bolt? I was at 10. I take 9. No, I'm not dead immediately. I potentially lose on a longer time span, though. So, when I am on the play, I think I like the natural orders more. This is 62. I can just trim 1 Commune with Beavers and keep everything else. This is fine. I think I am doing basic forest with this, though. I really don't want to get wastelanded at the beginning of this game. Mana absolutely is not perfect here. The utility lands don't tap for true green mana on curve, which is a pretty big deal. If I get bolted, I don't get bolted. Natural order is shut off by Cage, though. So is my Green Sun, for that matter. Maybe that was a reason to play this on turn 1. I care about Daze. I think I am going to ignore Daze so that I can play Dryad Arbor this turn. Eating a card from the graveyard does not have immediate value. This is still going to be lightning boltable anyway. There is the Daze. This lets me play Dryad Arbor out immediately, though. I believe I can still Green Sun for Grist through Grafdigger's Cage, though. I'll check myself before I cast that, but I think that's true. No, not true. There's one of those weird interactions like that Grist dodges. Forget which one it is. I'm going to play that. You can phase on out. And I'm going to attempt to just stick an Endurance here. Take a card out of the graveyard. I don't think I'm going to cast the Reclaimer into Daze here. I think I'm just going to swing for 2 since my opponent's creature is phased out. And then on a slightly longer time scale, I have Reclaimer for Bojuka Bog to deal with the graveyard. Getting a Guy's Cradle doesn't do much for me right now, but I can also just use Reclaimer to float Talon Gates as a way to phase out opposing blockers or protect my own stuff from bolts. This Cage is really rough. Do I have a Boseiju in my mana? No, I do not. Oh. Opponent gave up, which I'm happy with, because I had 2 blanks in hand. GG's, though. Alright, we have a reasonable opening hand here. Opponents on Painter. Got it. Lotus Petal, sure. Blue Painter, specifically. Not Blue Painter? Blue Painter, specifically. Hit Grindstone from Yard. That's horrifying. So if opponent has enough mana, they will just kill us in a couple of turns. I need to work towards Natural Order for Hoof, or I just bog this stuff out of Graveyard, which is, I think, the approach that I'm going to take. Makes the Emery way worse in the short term. Main deck Bojuka Bog coming in clutch there. That's a new Lotus Petal, so the Emery at least gets something to do. Oh, so much for my graveyard hate. Mox Opal. Okay, that could have been a lot worse. My opponent's Lotus Petal is potentially just better than Mox Opal in the short term. And they do grab the Petal. We might just see something like a stock up here. It's Tamiyo. Sure. All right. Now, the downside of doing something like Bojuka Bog is that it's not green, so I can't double spell this turn. So I'll fetch. I'll pick up a green source, do a Bayou, and I'll go ahead and pick up a Dryad Arbor here for my Cradle count. I can just Natural Order next turn. So my opponent gets a Clue, and this means that Mox Opal can now have Metalcraft. Nope, we're just cracking the Clue immediately. Or Bauble, cracking immediately. Replay a Petal, or no, that's a new Petal. And then opponent's going to replay Bauble from Graveyard. Sure. All right. Take your redraws. Oh, shit. That's very good. This is effectively free. I'm dropping the Cradle. I won't tap it for mana yet. I'm going to hope that my opponent doesn't have Force of Will for this. They don't. Now I can go 3 mana, play a Keen-Eyed Curator, and just eat the Bauble that my opponent is recycling out of Graveyard. And then next turn, I haven't done the math yet, but I'm just going to assume that Natural Order kills my opponent with Hoof. Didn't even make it to the next turn. Good job, game 1, Silver Bullet. This saved my butt. Even if I don't die to Painter Grindstone combo immediately, my opponent drawing an extra card with Emery Bauble every turn would have done disgusting things. So this is now another how many cards do I sideboard situation. I absolutely am playing Force of Vigor every time, and then there's just a question of how much of this other stuff do I want. I don't want these. I'm going to assume Safekeeper comes out. How do I feel about the Natural Order versus the Counterspell deck? I often cut that sort of stuff, but it might be that I need the Atraxa Body or the Hoof Overrun to beat Fair Urza Saga construct nonsense that can happen. I think I'm going to run into the same situation again, where I am about to sideboard in enough removal spells where it doesn't make sense to play with Commune with Beavers. Because assuming I cut these, I will be at roughly 26 creatures. And if I kept those in, that would mean that I'm at 22 instead. That starts to feel unreliable at that stage. I don't know what to cut here. I think I'm going to trim 2 whites. I think Reclaimer threatening early Bojuka Bog is nice. Oh, we just have the Bog again. This is fine. Seat into Tamiyo, which I will just snuff out. Sure. Opponent keeping that for Metalcraft reasons, it looks like. Let's grab a Bayou so I can snuff out. I will snuff out. And I think I am into the immediate mana dork here over making my green spells uncounterable. I think I would just like to be able to Green Sun for 2 next turn if I draw a land. Thoughtcast is great. Ancient Tomb. Big plays can be coming. That's mana. And now we're cracking baubles. 1 bauble cracked. So now I'm probably just playing Allosaurus Shepherd since I did not hit the untapped land. I will Shepherd. That makes this uncounterable as well. And then I will Bog my opponent, which doesn't do a lot because they are going to be left with a Bauble afterwards for if they draw an Emery. And they do cycle that. Get the redraw on their turn. Oh, it's big mana. It's the One Ring. But that sure is not stopping my Collector Oof. There needs to be some sort of Dismember or Dispatch style card to do that. Or I guess now a Blast could do it. So my opponent is playing around Snuff Out by putting that on black. Pretty good. So bam, bam, bam. X equals 2 for the oof, which notably also is getting this artifact land, and I can't attack for damage because of the One Ring. So now the opponent is likely to deal a lot of damage to themselves. I am not worried about Painter Grindstone in the short term. In the long term, maybe they can Ottawara bounce my Collector Oof out of play, and it is bad for me. We shall see. I think I'm going to go bam, bam, get a Dryad Arbor. I'm going to throw down a Grist. I'm going to minus a Grist, kill the Dryad Arbor, and that's good enough for my opponent. Collector Oof absolutely soloed that match. GG's. Okay, is this a good enough 6-card hand that I keep it? Land, Hierarch, Keen-Eyed Curator, eat 2 things. Yeah, honestly, I don't think this is worth mulliganing. An Arid Mesa. Doing energy stuff, maybe? Basic Mountain. It's a Goblins deck. The year of our Keranos 2025. I don't deviate from my opening play here. My Keen-Eyed Curator isn't really going to be looking great. This is another time where I really just want to draw a natural order and overpower what my opponent is doing. Ooh, we've got Ancient Tomb, though. Owl Squad Heavy. This is the max speed one that makes Goblin tokens and then turns into red Gaia's Cradle. You've got it. You have the need for speed. I'm thinking about whether or not I need to play a Cradle this turn. So I can go Reclaimer immediately into Keen-Eyed Curator with the leftover mana. Might want to wait a turn to play the Curator, though. Like, play it when I can eat a bunch of stuff from the graveyard all at the same time. This is unfortunately just a 2/2, and this is a 1/2 right now. All my stuff's small. It'll hopefully get bigger. And I am a little sad that I'm not going to... not going to be able to hardcast this Atraxa, because I will probably have the right amount of raw mana next turn, but not the right colors. That is another Howl Squad Heavy. There are goblins. I'm going to lose the white here. And my opponent gets in for a pretty respectable amount of damage. I guess I will kill the Munitions Expert. Take a bunch. Speed is 3 of 4 for max speed. And more things could be coming this turn because of Skirk Prospector's ability to turn goblins into mana. It's Snoop, too. I don't have a Tabernacle. So I guess I'm not immediately dead, but this is definitely bad. There are only lands and creatures in graveyard for purposes of Keen-Eyed Curator. Go ahead and throw this down. With my floating mana, I will eat a card. And I have Elvish Reclaimer available, which could potentially turn a land into a Dryad Arbor or something. Something else is coming down off of Vial. Oh no. Yes. I think I just need to hold this back as a blocker to save the in-combat damage, rather than try to save that creature by phasing it out. I imagine I am just very close to dead immediately here. Okay, everybody is not partying since I have Keen-Eyed Curator. That's nice. So I will take 2 blocks, go to 9. Gaia's Cradles are now a go since my opponent is at max speed. And let's junk a forest. I can get a fetch land to turn this into a 3/4 guaranteed. Sure. It is another Keen-Eyed Curator. Again, though, I only have creatures and lands available to eat, which is really awkward. It's card types, not number of cards. So I know that my opponent is about to pick up Wasteland. Alright, I don't need to do anything with Snoop as of right now. Opponent makes goblins. They're going to crash in. I'm going to have good blocks against them. And we're staring at each other for the minute, or the moment. Go ahead and do this. Oh, I don't have a Surveil land. I guess that means it's Dryad Arbor. Now I need to leave 2 mana floating so that my opponent can't wasteland my Cradle successfully. So creature and land under here. You're going to put creature under here, but not land. I have exactly 3 in my deck, and we'll call that good. So I can put this in with mana to phase out my opponent's Snoop. This can also filter mana? Hold on. Can I cast Atraxa? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. I'm going to play this. I'm going to phase out Snoop. All right, there's Atraxa. Pretty cool. So I will take sorcery. I want that in deck. Land, 3/4 creature that I can play. Solid. Am I fine with Gaia's Cradle being wastelanded to play another 3/4 creature? No. Now I think I am just holding Talon Gates available, or if my opponent has something that can answer Atraxa. Okay, so they know what's up. So I will activate this, sacrifice the Dryad Arbor, turn it into Lair of the Hydra, or just turn it into another Dryad Arbor, turn it into another Dryad Arbor. All right, so now Snoop potentially can do some cool things depending on what is under this card. My opponent has set it up where I now can't phase out Snoop for another turn. So my opponent's going to play the theater, surveil the cavern to the bottom, and we'll see if they go crazy. Oh god. So that could get a munitions expert to kill Atraxa. I guess there's not black mana right now. Oh, Muxus. Uh-huh. Ate that. Yep. There's munitions expert on top of library. There's Sting Scourger for Atraxa. What a disaster. Yeah, I knew specifically that I needed to phase out the Snoop because of this exact situation. So good on my opponent for knowing what their outs looked like there. And I imagine this just kills me. I'm not going to do the math. I'm just going to block. Oh god, there's Broadside too. Sure. I am beyond dead. GG. Almost brought that one back, honestly, from a very, very, very difficult position. So I am happy enough. I don't need Allosaurus Shepherd. Most of the rest of my cards here are pretty darn reasonable. I think I'm going to get rid of Collector Oof and ignore Aether Vial as a card. I think those become 2 Abrupt Decays or Snuff Outs, and then it's just a question of, like, again, if I want more removal, the ratios are such that it makes less and less sense to play Commune with Beavers. I've wanted more removal in every single game that I have played so far, which is awkward. Curators are weird. They wall some stuff. There's not enough different card types going into the graveyard to eat. I guess Beavers helps with that a little bit. This not being able to hit the removal spells I bring in is very awkward. Yeah, it fully feels like anytime I want to bring in all 6 of these removal spells, it is fully correct to board out Commune with Beavers. Which either means that I shouldn't be playing Commune with Beavers, or I should not have this many removal spells in my sideboard, or they should be attached to creatures. Mana does not work here. This is a fine 6-card hand. Atraxa goes back into the deck for Natural Order. And as far as Commune with Beavers go, there is a question of, like, how many cards do you need to look at with it? Sorry, how many different cards do you need to look at with it for it to be worth its mana cost? So is it reasonable to play that card if on average you are looking at 2 valid hits instead of 3? It feels like you need to be looking at 3 cards relatively consistently for that to be playable. Raider Maker. Opponent can take out my white immediately with that. And I will play another one. Then I will cast a Natural Order. Never mind. Land. Fetch. Dryad Arbor. Natural Order. Pick up Atraxa. Trigger. I will take a land. A creature. That's it. Not a very good Atraxa, I say, as it will attack for 9 lifelink with Vigilance. But if opponent just Sting Scourgers this out of play, for example, life's not actually all that good for me. But I will probably just pull ahead with Fair Bodies. Yeah, there's Matron. for the Sting Scourger. Wasteland's fine. It's not going to keep me from multi-spelling, though. That's interesting. So I could phase out my own Atraxa to be able to attack with it again. That's very funny. Yield to that. Yeah. It feels correct to just phase out my Atraxa, so my opponent can't bounce it and then swing in the air for lethal. Yeah. That means only playing one of these instead. And then once it's actually to my turn, I will have White of the Reliquary available. And then I can protect Atraxa with the other Talon Gates. So that worked really well for me. Natural Order confirmed good. Asterisk on it in the non-counterspell matchups. Alright, I have a reasonable mix of lands and spells. I've got some ramp here. I am very good at drawing Bojuka Bog, which is a singleton in my deck. I need to play a Dryad Arbor here so that I can block Goblin Lackey, so that my opponent can't do Muxus Crimes or equivalent. Alright. Now opponent has removal in their deck. Hopefully I dodge. Okay. I have dodged the worst timeline, in which I get hit immediately. And now I start deciding how I want to hedge. The additional power and haste is very real. I think I'm going to do this in a way where I have 2 untapped creatures. Just gonna go a step further here. I think I just want to be able to deploy Grist behind as many bodies as possible and make my opponent's attacks awkward. Black mana is now on the table. Howl Squad Heavy is good. Everything is fine, air quotes, in the short term. Let's fetch. This is 3rd land in graveyard. This is a 3/4. Drop Reclaimer. Is Grist turning a Dryad Arbor into a removal spell? That seems okay. The follow-up question is, for what creature? Because this is the mana sink. I think it's the mana sink. Dryad Arbor or Battlecry Goblin. That puts a 1st creature in graveyard for white. Opponent has mana. Hopefully I gum up the board here. Oh, opponent is trying not to attack with the Goblin token, but it has to attack. I guess with the 3/4 is better. Alright, cool. Now I can Grist plus... What is my best target here? Is it just getting another 3/4 creature? Or I can try to save it until after I have Cradle. I actually think I'm going to do that. Let's go green and black with 2 mana available for a Cradle. This means that I'm just bogging you and not eating anything. And then I turn my Bojuka Bog into a Cradle, and then turn Green Sun into Hoof. And hopefully that's just that. Actually, I might turn Dryad Arbor. I'll have to think about it. Snoop, or Munitions Expert. The flash there is strong. Okay, that's happening. Yeah, that's fine. Broadside on top now. That has to attack. I'll block here. Take no damage. And now I can activate this. Sacrifice the Bog. Pick up a Cradle, which is worth 5 mana. So that enters tapped. X equals 8. I didn't do the math, but it seems sufficient. Punch. Oh, I guess I should not auto-yield because I have White of the Reliquary available. Send them. Do your thing. There was no thing to do. That was just checking the top card of the library for Snoop. GG's. We are putting wins on the board despite Commune, with the Beavers actively being a downside, specifically in post-sideboard games. Okay. I've got lands and spells. This is fine. Let's see what my opponent's up to. A blue-black deck of some kind. An unfair blue-black deck. It is Doomsday. Now, there is a chance that I could use an Endurance to stop a Thassa's Oracle kill. But that's all it is a chance. Because if my opponent has a piece of interaction to back their stuff up, I am done. So if my opponent, for example, builds a Cavern of Souls pile, or not a Cavern of Souls pile, if my opponent has a Force of Will or a Daze, I lose. So let's do a check here. I see 1 daze, 2 days, 3 days, but 4 Force of Will. Okay, so I need to play Endurance around days then. It's not a Cavern of Souls pile. It might not be a just cycle Duders pile. I might be able to play a creature on turn 1, but I think I am simply not going to do that. If this is a double Thassa's Oracle pile, life could be awkward. There is Island. There is a Street Wraith. There is a Ponder. A Lotus Petal. And there is a Thassa's Oracle. So, trigger on the stack. I'm going to cast an Endurance, pitching some card, sending those cards back into my opponent's deck, and now they don't win the game. Not immediately, anyway. I'm gonna fetch. I think this is going to become Dryad Arbor. And then I can go Reacher, play Bog. And then I can have a mana burst. There's Consider, Street Wraith, Ponder, and Concession. Yeah, since we played around days that my opponent had, we were able to successfully Endurance, which is lucky. Okay, so for Doomsday, 4 Thoughtseize is basically the thing that potentially matters. Safekeeper's not particularly important. The Beavers to help look for Endurance are fine. They're probably going to stay in the deck. I think I'm going to get rid of Collector Oof. It does some stuff. I don't know to what extent I can consider cutting lands. The deck has a lot of mana dorks, but I do kind of need to keep hitting land drops in cases where I don't just have Gaia's Cradle to fix everything for me. I don't know, maybe the Oof is better than a random beater like Keen-Eyed Curator. This is fine. This hand has multiple endurances and stuff to do with mana. I am fine with this. Very fast mulligans from my opponent. They are on 5. And I'm getting turn 1 Doomsdayed again, but I have double endurance. Hopefully that's good enough. Dryad Arbor is green for the purpose of pitching 2 endurance. This is not blue mana or hardcasting an Oracle. This might be a game where I just ignore playing spells. Opponent is at 9. The endurance has become hardcastable if I play a mana dork this turn, is the thing. But maybe that doesn't matter. I'm going to play a land and pass. I guess I could have taken a look at seeing how many dazes were here. Thoughtseize is fine. 1 Force of Will, 2 Force of Will, 3 Force of Will, 4 Force of Will. Opponent concedes. They could not beat double endurance with the pile that they built, and that is a 4-1 finish with our Commune with Beavers deck. So obviously gameplay today was pretty good, but as far as testing this card goes out, this was a big miss as far as testing goes. I didn't necessarily board this out, or all of them out in every single round, I don't think, but this has bigger deck building implications than I first thought. When I put this deck together, I was largely replacing other green cantrips that already existed, like Once Upon a Time. And I made some slight tweaks to the mana base to account for that, but I think the sideboard needs to look entirely different. If you don't want to just board out Commune with Beavers every round, then the things in your sideboard need to be creatures that are replacing your creatures. Otherwise, one of the cards that you're trying to make work in your deck just statistically is going to get worse in every single post-sideboard game. And that was not clear to me until I started playing this. So, for example, if the Snuff Outs hypothetically became something like Orcish Bowmasters, then I would not feel as compelled to always be boarding out Commune with Beavers. Or, maybe a Force of Vigor becomes it could become one of the different disenchant creatures, either on ETB or on Sacrifice. but I don't really know if that's better. And so I guess at the end of the day, is this selection at 1 mana worth it? And I think in this deck, the answer was no. I was finding that I always had stuff to do with my mana in the early turns because I have 17 1-drops in the deck, 13 1-drops, ignoring Commune with Beavers, 17 again, counting the Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. And so I just was not hurting on turn 1 plays. So I think if you are trying to make this work, you would be doing so in a deck that is light on turn 1 plays, or maybe in a deck that needs to assemble A plus B. Like maybe there is a deck that wants this Once Upon a Time and Malevolent Rumble because you are trying to hyper consistently get one specific combo. But again, I'm trying to run as many possible hits for this to make it good. And so the more cantrip style things you play, the worse this gets. So I think on paper, prior to any gameplay, I did an okay job of building a Commune with Beavers deck. But in practice, after seeing the gameplay and seeing the fact that like almost every time I wanted to board in 6 removal spells that aren't hits with this, and like in the post-sideboard games, the things that I'm boarding in are the things that I really want to be finding. I think this was a failure on my part, despite the 4-1 finish. I don't think I did a good job building a Commune with Beavers deck. Now, the better question is, like, should you actually be building around Commune with Beavers? And if it is not hitting removal spells, and a big part of Legacy right now is answering your Barrow-Glyphs, your Tamios, and stuff of that nature, then maybe the answer is no. But hopefully this was a useful lesson in deck building, despite kind of the strange nature of this card. All right, folks, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. For those of you in Vegas, I'll see you there at my meet and greet. See ya.